Lois and Clark and Smallville, etc. were successful TV shows, yet we haven't had a universally loved Superman movie since the original 1978. Does Superman, well, Superman 2's loved. I wouldn't, if you said since Superman 2, I would agree with you, but Superman 2 is, it's a broken film because they switched directors, but like my perception is not that there's a lot of people that like Superman 2 more than Superman 1 because it's a straight action movie and Zod and his threat are better. Superman 2 is kind of same as both of those movies are set the template. One is the origin story, and then Superman 2 is challenges the hero. How can the hero be the hero as well as get what the hero wants? The hero wants to find love, so they're going to sacrifice being the hero to find love. But they realize they can't do that. I mean, it's the plot of Spider-Man 2 as well. Like that, it's been copied. So don't mean to nitpick, but I would disagree with the premise right there. Superman 1 and 2. I think both are pretty universally held up. Does Superman just work better on TV than he does in film? I would argue that Superman is a terrible character to put on television. It's worked. They found ways to make it work, but Superman on paper is a character that inherently makes more sense as a cinematic character that has a big epic adventure every few years rather than a different adventure every week because he's too powerful. So to do these TV shows, we have to put constraints on Superman. In Smallville, no flights, no tights. In Smallville, that ran for over 200 episodes, he's actually only Superman in the show for about 10 minutes, and they show him as little as possible. So it's a Superman story, yes, but also they avoided having him be Superman as much as possible. And then we do Superman Lois and Clark back in the 90s. That's you could debate how well that one's held up. I grew up watching it. I was there first day that it dropped. But how well is it kind of held up? And that, even that one, it's designed to be a workplace romance first. It's called Lois and Clark. And then it's a Superman adventure too. There's limitations there, but you get to Superman and Lois of the last 5 years. It's a family drama being inspired by, Friday Night Lights and Everwood or something like that. Like it's a teen family drama where he happens to be Superman. And to do that, we move them out of Metropolis and we're doing kind of these season-long villains. It's not crime of the week. There's all these constraints to be able to do it. None of the closest of those to the classic Superman would be Lois and Clark. And even there, having there's only so much that you can do you could do in 1995 with Superman on weekly television. So it doesn't feel big and epic like Superman. It's literally a workplace romance. So in order to put Superman on television, they have to morph it a little bit. Superman lends himself to epic threats, cinematic threats. Batman would make perfect sense on television. He's a detective. He's street level. He has a huge rogues gallery. Some of them are pretty sci-fi and a lot of them aren't. That's great for television. Superman, how many Doomsdays, how many Zods, they make sense as a villain every few years that threatens the city and you need someone as powerful as Superman to save the day. That's what's been crazy about all this to me. Superman should be the one that kills it on the big screen and Batman would kill it on television. You do a Daredevil, tone it like that for Batman, it would be incredible. But, I think if you look at the Superman movies, you can play out what went wrong. Superman 1 and 2, the source material was Richard Donner loved and understood Superman. They had Mario Puzo writing it, literally the guy that wrote The Godfather writing it. And so it just had this spared no expense to make them. And then they had a guy take over that didn't understand Superman, and they turned Superman 3 into a Richard Pryor slapstick comedy. They turned Superman 3 into a Richard Pryor comedy. Why was that unbeloved? Because they turned it into a Richard Pryor comedy. And then Cannon bought it and was running out of money, so then they did a Superman movie with no budget. Why was the one that was made, why did that not work? Because they had no money, and so they were cheap on everything. And then you do Superman Returns 20 years later, and that one was a well-intentioned misfire. Maybe it could have worked. Maybe it could have, but it didn't. Where they came up with the idea to do a sequel to Superman 2, basically. Let's ignore 3 and 4 and do a sequel. And so let's be very, very respectful to those films from 20 years ago, 25 years earlier. Problem, in those 25 years, Superman in the comics dramatically changed with Man of Steel in 1986, the comic run, Death of Superman. The Lex Luthor character was a completely different character from 1980 to 1990 or 2006. The character went from madman real estate schemes to evil Bruce Wayne. And you made a movie that was very reminiscent of an outdated version of the character. And there's some choices in there that maybe didn't sit quite right with people, and maybe they wanted more action, but there were bad choices. And then Man of Steel is a Zack Snyder movie. Zack Snyder is a polarizing director. People love him, people hate him. He's spicy food. People that like spicy food love spicy food. People that don't like spicy food do not like it at all. And that's people with Zack Snyder. That he just has a very distinct aesthetic, themes he loves to explore. He handles characters and visuals, everything in a distinct way that's very Zack Snyder. That's why people love him, but it's not optimized for the broadest possible audience. It's him making what he makes, for better or for worse. And for a broad audience, his flavor does not overlap all that well with Superman particularly well. And so it was polarizing. But you can go through each of those 4 movies and be like, that's why it didn't work. Now, what's going to happen with James Gunn? I don't know. Will it be loved? And then by now, is the Superman fandom just so fractured that people have their different, I love Smallville, I love Superman and Lois, I love Man of Steel, I love the comics. Oh, but is it going to be that? I don't know. But I would disagree. I think that it's really complicated, the public's relationship with Superman.
Most of these clips are pulled from my Patreon live streams. I do about 6 live streams every single month. For $2 per month, $20 per year, you can get access to all the exclusive videos and live streams. For $5 per month, you get your name on my end card. At the top tier, you get a 30-minute video chat with me each month. The link down below in the description has more information.